Wow, we got a flashing check engine light. Cool. Let's see what's wrong with the car. Okay. Well, I was planning on doing a little bit of driving and you know, getting some outside video and flybys and stuff like that, but car's running a little rough. We got a flashing check engine light, so let's check it out. So we got the same catalytic converter code, cylinder 1 misfire, cylinder 2 misfire. Those are new. Okay, so we've got P0301 and P0302 cylinder 1 and 2 misfire, so it is running on 2 cylinders. Alright, so this video was actually going to be just driving around doing some POV driving. I was going to set the camera up back there, put the camera out on a tripod, do some flybys and stuff like that, but now it's kind of turned into we're going to fix the car and figure out what's going on with it. Yeah, welcome to this week's episode. Plans have changed just a little bit. I was originally planning on installing something that I bought, but shipping's taking a while, so we're gonna have to wait on that. So I was just gonna fill in this week with driving the car, letting you guys hear how it sounds and stuff like that. But now we have a cylinder 1 and a cylinder 2 misfire. So first thing we're gonna do is check and make sure that the spark plugs, or the plugs and plug wires and everything, is good. I do have spark plugs for the car that I've been putting off for a while now, so maybe we'll just go ahead and swap those out. But I need to get the car back in the garage. Code for the catalytic converter, we've had that before. That was already there because the car has no cats on it, which might be part of the reason why we're getting these codes. But this is what the car just threw: cylinder 1 misfire and cylinder 2 misfire. So that's what we're going to be looking into. It did not have those codes previously. So first things first, we're going to check plugs, wires, all that good stuff, and then if it comes down to it, we will do a compression test on those cylinders. Okay, zero spark from cylinder 1, so I'm gonna assume the same for cylinder 2. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna swap out these plug wires real quick. Alright, so swapped out the 2 plug wires. These are not brand new, they just came off of a car that I know was running fine. So we're going to try that, start it up, see what happens. So that didn't do anything, so we know that our plug wires were fine. So we're going to try swapping out this ignition coil and then see if that does anything. Again, it's not going to be a brand new part. I'm just going to pull it off of a car that was running, and then we will see if that is the issue. We just swapped out that ignition coil, and we're gonna start it up and see if that fixed it. That was it. So There was the culprit right there. Ended up getting pretty lucky on that one. Usually when you get a misfire code on a Subaru, it is one of the biggest pains ever. So got pretty lucky on this car. It just ended up being the ignition coil. I do have new plugs for the car, so we're gonna go ahead and swap those out anyway since I'm in here. Might as well. I'm not really sure how old these ones are, but we're gonna pull them out and check, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do that as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get the old plugs out, and then we're gonna gap these, or make sure the gap is correct, and then we're gonna get the new plugs in, and I'm gonna show you guys what all you need to do spark plugs on these cars, because a lot of people think that, oh, you know, Subaru, super hard to do spark plugs, there's no room to do it, but actually on these NA motors it's super easy, not complicated whatsoever. Spark plugs are super easy. You do not need to be worried about it. You can do it in 15 minutes, and that's exactly what we're about to do. Here's where your plug wires go, and we have all the room down here. Not a problem at all. Now the driver's side is a little bit trickier, but you really only have to remove this tank, so we're gonna do that now. Okay, so it has the same plugs that we're gonna be putting into it, so that's good. It has copper tips. I don't know if you can see that. So these are the NGK-Rs, which is the exact same thing we're gonna be putting into it. These look relatively newer. Maybe they've been done in the last 10-20,000 miles, don't know, but we're gonna go ahead and swap them today. It is running smooth and 10 times better than it did before. Alright, I don't know how the audio is going to sound. I'm having to use the camera microphone because the one that I've been using hasn't really been working too well. I don't know what's going on with it. It was working great with my old camera, but for some reason on this new one, it just doesn't, I don't know, it sounds horrible. So this is what we got for right now, but we just figured out that misfire issue and we got the new spark plugs in, and I'm gonna assume that those spark plugs have been in there for a while, because I mean, this thing feels so much better. It runs a whole lot better. The throttle response is a whole lot better. So if your car feels kind of sluggish, just go ahead and do some spark plugs on it. But as I said at the beginning of this video, we were just going to kind of drive around and get some sound bites and some flybys and stuff like that. And I think I'm still going to do that and throw that in here, but the main focus of this video is going to be showing you guys a little bit of troubleshooting, figuring out what's going on with the car, stuff like that. And we're just going to talk about the future plans. So obviously I have a donor car. I have a WRX, a 2002 WRX with an EJ205, and the end goal is to obviously swap this car so it'll have a 205 turbo, all that good stuff. And ideally I want it to be a drop-in bone stock swap. I don't want to run any sort of aftermarket parts or anything like that, but we may have to run a few simply because it's almost impossible to get a hold of a stock downpipe nowadays with the prices of catalytic converters. So we may have an aftermarket downpipe, we may have an aftermarket header, just some things like that, but I want it to be as stock as possible. So with that being said, obviously, you know, it's kind of hard for me to take a perfectly good running and driving car like this is and pull the motor and do all this stuff to it. So I kind of feel bad about pulling this motor and doing the 205 swap, but also at the same time I'm kind of on that level of, okay, well, if something does happen to it, who cares? We got a whole new motor to go into it. So right now I'm just kind of driving the car, enjoying it. We're gonna continue to get that 205 swap ready to go. There is a lot of stuff to do. We obviously have to get it running right because it's not running very good in that bug eye right now. So there's a lot to do with that to get it, you know, to get everything squared away and have it running good. But for right now, I'm just gonna kind of enjoy the car the way it is. It drives really good. There's really no issues with it other than, you know, the rust, which is my main concern. I would like to get that sorted out before we start doing any sort of engine swaps and stuff like that. Just kind of all over the place with the car, not really sure, you know, my exact plan step by step. We're just kind of taking it one day at a time. So for right now, this week's episode was just troubleshooting the car. It wasn't running right. We figured it out, got it running good, and we put some new spark plugs in it. So next week I have a part coming in the mail, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while on this car, but I haven't been able to find one for a good price, and I finally did. We're gonna have to do a little bit of work to it, but it'll make for a great addition to this series. So I've got that part coming in the mail. Tomorrow I'm picking up two things for the car. We got a few weeks of content ahead of us, and they're all pretty big things, and I'm pretty excited about it. So we have a lot to do on this car. Don't think I'm gonna run out of content anytime soon. That's pretty much gonna be it for this week's episode. We're just gonna drive the car around, do a little bit of spirited driving, maybe some flybys, stuff like that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's episode, and I will see you next week. This car, knowing that it was a naturally aspirated Subaru that makes like 140 horsepower, I really didn't expect it to be this much fun, but it is actually a ton of fun to drive. If you guys have ever considered buying one of these, do it now, because they are skyrocketing in value, and 10 years from now you are